I'm standing in Todd's apartment at 7:43 a.m., watching my phone light up on the hardwood floor. Ben's name. Again! The 23rd call in 40 minutes. You should probably get that, Todd says from the bed, but he's smiling. He knows I won't. Through the window, I can see the rain hammering down on Ann Arbor. Freezing November rain that turns everything gray and miserable. Ben is somewhere out there, standing on the curb outside our apartment 3 miles away waiting for me. The comprehensive exam starts in 17 minutes. I told myself my phone died. That's what I'll say later. The battery just gave out. What could I do? But I can see the screen glowing from here. 87% battery. I turned off the ringer last night when I left our apartment. Told Ben I was going to Katie's to give him space to get a good night's sleep before the biggest exam of his life. If he can't handle a little stress, he doesn't belong in a doctoral program, Todd says, and I laugh. It sounds sharp even to my own ears. My boyfriend is having a panic attack in the rain right now. I know this because I know Ben. I know exactly what he looks like when the anxiety takes over. Hands shaking, breathing too fast, that wild look in his eyes like a trapped animal. I know because I've held him through it dozens of times over the past 2 years. I've talked him down from ledges I couldn't see, reminded him to breathe, told him he was brilliant and capable and going to be fine. But I'm here instead, in Todd's bed, making this choice. The comprehensive exam is the gatekeeper of the PhD program. 8 hours of written examination covering the entire scope of American and European history from 1500 to present. You get one chance, one day. If you fail, you're expelled from the program. No second attempts, no appeals. 2 years of work, gone. Ben doesn't drive. He never learned. Anxiety thing, he says. Too many variables. Too much that could go wrong. So I promised I'd take him. 7:30 sharp, I'd said last night, kissing his forehead while he sat surrounded by flashcards and coffee cups. I'll be there. I love you. Get some sleep. He believed me. Todd pulls me back down. Come here. You're overthinking it. I'm not overthinking anything. I'm just not thinking about the right things. But let me start from the beginning. Let me tell you how I became the person who abandoned someone at the worst possible moment. Let me explain how I got here, even though I know there's no explanation that makes this okay. We met during orientation 2 years ago, August in Michigan, that brief sweet window before the cold sets in. The history department welcomed 12 new PhD students with wine and cheese in a room that smelled like old books and floor polish. Ben was the one asking questions that made the professors light up. Not showing off exactly, just genuinely curious about everything. Medieval trade routes, the historiography of the French Revolution. Whether anyone was doing archival work on labor movements in Detroit, I watched him charming everyone without trying, and I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. The same feeling I'd had my whole academic life. Someone else is smarter than me. Someone else is going to get what I want. But then he sat next to me. I'm Ben, he said, and his hand was shaking slightly when we shook. Sorry, I'm nervous. I always talk too much when I'm nervous. That vulnerability, that immediate honesty. I fell for it instantly. We were inseparable that first year. Study partners, best friends, and by October, more than that. His apartment was closer to campus, but mine had better heat, so we ended up spending most nights at my place. He'd sprawl across my couch reading dusty monographs while I typed notes, and every so often he'd read me a passage about something ridiculous. Medieval toilet humor, the sexual politics of Versailles, and we'd laugh until we couldn't breathe. He was brilliant in a way that seemed effortless, not arrogant about it, just genuinely in love with history. He could remember everything, dates, names, obscure details from books he'd read once. His seminar papers came back with comments like, exceptional work, and consider submitting this for publication. Mine came back with good effort, and needs more engagement with the literature. I told myself it didn't matter. We were a team. His success was my success. I told myself that for months. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. End of first year, beginning of second. Ben started getting pulled into meetings with our advisor, Professor Hamilton. Extra attention, mention of a prestigious fellowship, talk of fast-tracking his dissertation proposal. He asked about my research interests, Ben told me one night, excited and anxious in equal measure. He thinks there's real potential in looking at labor organizing in Detroit during the '67 riots. He said he might have archival funding. That's amazing, I said. I meant it. I also hated it. Professor Hamilton never asked about my research interests. The comprehensive exam loomed over everything second year. It was scheduled for early November, and preparation consumed our lives. 8 hours of testing covering centuries of history. The stories circulated among older PhD students like horror tales. Someone who blanked on the entire medieval section and failed. Someone who had a breakdown in hour 6 and walked out. Someone who passed but barely, and now everyone knew they were the weak link. Ben was terrified. His anxiety, usually manageable, became omnipresent. He made thousands of flashcards. He reread entire textbooks. He woke up at 3 a.m. in cold sweats, convinced he'd forgotten everything about the Reformation or the French Revolution or American Reconstruction. I made flashcards too. I studied, but I wasn't scared the way Ben was, and that should have made me feel confident. Instead, it made me angry. Why did he get to be the brilliant one who was anxious? Why did he get Professor Hamilton's attention and the fellowship discussions and the effortless recall? If he was so smart, why was he such a mess? I know how that sounds. I knew it then too. But the thoughts came anyway, late at night when he was sleeping, and I was staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was disappearing next to him. I met Todd in September 6 months ago. He was the teaching assistant for Professor Hamilton's seminar on American labor history. 26th third-year PhD student, already ABD, all but dissertation. He had that casual confidence that came from being further along, from knowing he'd survived what we were still facing. He was also responsible for grading our preliminary essays and practice exams, helping Professor Hamilton assess whether we were ready for comps. The first time was after a seminar. Todd caught me in the hallway. "Your essay on the Pullman strike was interesting," he said. "Some rough edges, but you've got good instincts. You should come to office hours. I can help you develop your arguments." I went. We talked about history for an hour. He listened in a way that made me feel smart instead of striving. Like my ideas mattered. The second time, we got coffee after, then drinks. Then he kissed me in the parking lot of the graduate library and I let him. I told myself it was just flirting, just attention, just someone seeing me as more than Ben's girlfriend, the less brilliant half of a matched set. The first time I went to his apartment, Ben thought I was at the library. I texted him updates. "Still working on the historiography section, might be late." Ben texted back hearts and encouragement and told me not to work too hard. I read his texts from Todd's bed and felt something dark and exhilarating. Like I was getting away with something. Like I had something Ben didn't know about. Some secret that made me more complex than he gave me credit for. Todd's apartment became my refuge. When Ben was spiraling about the exam, I'd slip away. Meeting Katie for dinner. Study group at the library. Need to clear my head. All true in the way lies can be true if you squint. Todd understood things Ben didn't. That academia was a competition, not a collaboration. That being smart wasn't enough. You needed strategy, positioning, the right relationships. "Your boyfriend's a brilliant historian," Todd said one October night, and I felt my spine stiffen. "But he's too earnest, too anxious. Hamilton respects that kind of mind, but he won't invest in someone who might crack under pressure." "Ben won't crack," I said automatically. "No?" Todd raised an eyebrow. "He's already cracking. Everyone can see it. The panic attacks before seminars. The way he spirals over every email from Hamilton. That's not PhD material." Something in me resisted, wanted to defend Ben, to say Todd was wrong. But another part of me, the part that was tired of being second place, tired of watching Ben get opportunities I wanted, that part stayed quiet. "The comps will show who really belongs here," Todd said. "It's Darwinian. The weak ones fail out, and that's how it should be." I thought about Ben's flashcards, his 3 a.m. panic, his absolute certainty that if he didn't pass, his entire life was over. I thought about what it would mean if Ben failed. More attention for me, more opportunities. No more being the girlfriend of the department's golden boy. I could just be Sarah, my own person, my own scholar. I never articulated it that clearly at the time, but that's what I was thinking. That's what I wanted. I'm not proud of it. I'm just telling you the truth. The night before the exam, I watched Ben prepare. He'd laid out his clothes, button-down shirt, slacks, the navy sweater I'd given him for his birthday. Lucky sweater, he called it, even though he said he didn't believe in luck. His backpack sat by the door, packed with pencils and backup pencils and a third set of backup pencils. A water bottle, granola bars, tissues because his hands got sweaty when he was nervous and he needed to keep them dry. 7:30, right? He asked for the 100th time. The exam starts at 8. I need to be there by 7:45 at the absolute latest. The proctor said late arrivals won't be admitted after 8:05. 7:30, I confirmed. I'll be here. We'll have plenty of time. He kissed me, and his lips were dry from stress. I don't know what I'd do without you. I held him. I felt his heart racing against my chest. You're going to be amazing, I whispered. You've prepared more than anyone. You know this material backwards and forwards. I just need to not panic, he said. If I can stay calm, I'll be okay. I just need to get there on time. Get settled. Breathe. You will, I promised. I've got you. He went to bed early. I waited until I heard his breathing even out. Then I texted Todd, "Can I come over?" He responded immediately, "Always." I told myself I'd set an alarm. I'd leave by 6:30, be back in plenty of time. Just needed a few hours away from Ben's anxiety. Just needed to feel like something other than a support system for someone else's dreams. I told myself a lot of things that night. Todd's apartment was warm. He had wine. We talked about his dissertation research, his plans for the job market next year, the paper he was presenting at a conference in December. "You should come," he said, "to Chicago. We could make a weekend of it." "I have a boyfriend," I said. I'd said it before. It was a formality at this point, a thin wrapper around what we were actually doing. "You have a boyfriend who's going to implode tomorrow," Todd said. "And then what? You tie yourself to someone who couldn't handle the pressure? Someone who peaked in coursework?" "Ben's not going to fail," I said. "Maybe not. But if he does, will you really stay with him? Watch him move back to Wisconsin or wherever, work at a high school? Resent you for succeeding where he failed?" I didn't answer. Todd poured more wine. We opened a second bottle. At some point, my phone died. Actually died. Battery at 0. I'd been texting with Ben until midnight and forgotten to charge it. Or I told myself it died. Looking back now, I'm not sure. I think I might have turned it off. I think some part of me wanted the excuse. We went to bed around 1 a.m. I set an alarm for 6. Early enough to get back, shower, pick Ben up. I didn't set an alarm. Or I set it and turned it off in my sleep. Or I set it and dismissed it and rolled over. I don't remember. That's the truth. I don't remember the moment I made the choice that destroyed everything. Maybe that's worse, that it wasn't even a conscious decision, just entropy and selfishness and the path of least resistance. I woke up to weak gray light through Todd's windows, rain hammering the glass. My phone charging on his nightstand? He must have plugged it in, lit up like a Christmas tree. 7:43 a.m., 23 missed calls, 14 text messages. The exam started in 17 minutes. Ben's apartment was 3 miles away. The testing center was 4 miles beyond that. Even if I left right now, even if I drove like a maniac, I couldn't get him there on time. My stomach dropped. That physical sensation of realizing you've done something irreversible. But Todd was already awake, already reading the notifications over my shoulder. "Jesus," he said. "He's really losing it, huh?" I read the texts. They started calm. "Morning, ready when you are." Then concerned. "Hey, it's 7:15. You on your way?" Then panicked. "Sarah, where are you? Please call me." "I'm trying Uber, but nothing's available. Please pick up." "Sarah, I'm going to miss it. Please, please." The last one was just, "How could you?" 7:38 a.m. "Your car's been here all night," Todd said. "What are you going to tell him?" And that's when I realized I could fix this. I could admit what I'd done. I could call Ben right now, tell him the truth, face the consequences. Or I could lie. "Battery died," I said. "I'll tell him my car battery died." Todd laughed. Actually laughed. That's perfect. Plausible deniability. I got dressed. My hands were shaking. Not like Ben's nervous shake. This was adrenaline and guilt and something else I didn't want to name. "You should wait a bit," Todd said. "Make it believable. If you show up now, he'll know you were nearby." So I waited. In Todd's apartment, while Ben's entire future disintegrated 3 miles away, I learned later what happened to Ben that morning. Pieces from what he told me, pieces from what I could infer, pieces from mutual friends who witnessed the aftermath. He waited on the curb until 7:50, trying Uber every 30 seconds, calling me, calling rideshare services, even trying the campus shuttle that didn't run on Saturdays. The rain soaked through his lucky sweater. His carefully organized backpack got wet. Finally, at 7:53, an Uber accepted. 12 minutes away, Ben paced in circles, checking his watch. The driver took 8 minutes to arrive instead of 12. Small miracle. But then didn't know the fastest route. Took the highway instead of cutting through campus. Saturday morning construction. They pulled up to the testing center at 8:14. Ben ran inside dripping wet. breathing like he'd sprinted a marathon. The proctor, Dr. Mitchell, ancient medievalist, no patience for excuses, looked up from her clipboard. Name? Ben Morrison. I'm so sorry. I'm here. I'm ready. Exam began at 8 a.m. Late entry cutoff is 8:05. Please. Ben was crying. I know this because Katie saw him later and told me. Please, my ride didn't show up. I took an Uber. I'll stay late. I'll make up the time. I don't make the rules, Mr. Morrison. The comprehensive exam is a single-sitting standardized assessment. All examinees must begin simultaneously to ensure fairness. Please, he said again. Please. This is my entire career. Please. Dr. Mitchell hesitated. Later, Katie told me that part too. The old woman looked at this brilliant, soaking, wet, sobbing student, and something in her expression softened. You have until 8:15, she said. Get to your seat. You've already lost 14 minutes. Use your time wisely. Ben sat down. He'd lost 14 minutes of an 8-hour exam. Not insurmountable, still passable, except his hands were shaking too badly to hold the pencil steady. His mind was white noise and panic. The first essay question was about the Treaty of Westphalia and its long-term impacts on European state formation. Ben could have recited that in his sleep 2 hours ago. Now he stared at the page and felt nothing but static. He wrote something. I saw the exam later, after everything fell apart. His handwriting devolved from his usual careful print to a desperate scrawl. Entire sections incoherent. The medieval section, his strongest area, barely completed. 8 hours of torture, watching everyone else write confidently while his mind spiraled, while every thought started with, Sarah didn't come, and ended with, I'm going to fail. At 4 p.m., he turned in his exam booklet. Dr. Mitchell gave him a sympathetic look that he said felt like a knife. I showed up at our apartment at noon. I'd spent the morning at a cafe near Todd's place, drinking coffee I didn't taste, crafting my story. My car was still in the parking lot where I'd left it the night before. I sat in the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine started immediately. Perfect battery, everything working fine. I turned it off and on 3 times, like I was checking. Then I went inside. Ben wasn't there. Of course not. He was in the testing center, living through his nightmare while I prepared my lies. I texted him, OMG, Ben, I am so sorry. Car battery completely dead. Had to wait for jump start. Are you okay? Did you make it? No response. I waited, cleaned the apartment, changed the sheets. Evidence of where I'd actually been. Though Ben would never look. Made dinner I knew he wouldn't eat. He came home at 6 p.m., soaking wet still or wet again from the walk back in the rain. His lucky sweater ruined. His face blank. Did you? I started. I failed. His voice was flat. I know I failed. I couldn't think. I couldn't remember anything. The anxiety took over completely. Ben, I'm so sorry. My car was fine. He pulled something from his pocket. A parking pass. Todd's parking pass, the one that said, T. Chen, grad student. It must have fallen out of my bag in the car weeks ago. I hadn't even noticed. You were with him, Ben said. Weren't you? I could have kept lying. I could have said I gave Todd a ride once. Could have manufactured some explanation. But Ben's eyes. He already knew. Yes, I said. He nodded slowly. Last night? Yes. This morning? When I was calling you 23 times? When I was standing in the rain? When my entire career was ending? You were with the TA who grades the exams for Hamilton's seminar? The grading is blind, I said, and I hated myself even as I said it. He doesn't know whose essays he's reading. Ben laughed. It was the worst sound I've ever heard. That's what you're worried about? Whether the grading is fair? Sarah, you left me in the rain the morning of my comprehensive exam so you could fuck someone else. Hearing him say it made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Made me see myself from outside. I didn't mean to, I said. My phone died. I fell asleep. I wasn't trying to. You turned off your phone. He said it with certainty. You knew I'd be calling. You knew I needed you. And you turned it off so you could have uninterrupted time with him. I wanted to deny it, but he was right. Some part of me, the part I didn't want to acknowledge, had known exactly what I was doing. How long? He asked. 6 months? 6 months. He sat down heavily on the couch. Since September, since Todd started grading our work. Ben, did you know I'd fail? Is that what this was? Sabotage? No, I never wanted, but you knew I was barely holding it together. You knew the only thing keeping me functional was routine and support, and knowing you'd be there. And you took that away on the one day I needed it most. I had no defense. There was no defense. I worked for 2 years, Ben said quietly. I read everything. I memorized everything. I had this one chance to prove I belonged in the program. And you, the person I trusted more than anyone, you chose that morning to not show up. I'm sorry, I whispered. You knew about my anxiety. You knew I don't drive. You knew I needed you. I know. And you chose him anyway. You chose sleeping with Professor Hamilton's TA over helping me get to the most important exam of my life. Put like that, there was no ambiguity, no gray area, just the brutal truth of what I'd done. Get out, Ben said. This is my apartment. Then I'll get out. He stood up, grabbed his backpack, still damp, still packed with the pencils he'd brought to the exam. I'll stay with Marcus. I'll figure something out. Ben, please, let's talk about this. Talk about what? He turned to look at me, and I saw he was crying. Talk about how you've been cheating on me for 6 months? Talk about how you sabotaged my career? Talk about how the person I loved most in the world betrayed me so completely, I can't even process it? I didn't sabotage. Yes, you did. His voice cracked. Maybe you didn't plan it. Maybe you didn't wake up yesterday and think, I'm going to ruin Ben's life today. But you made choices, Sarah. You chose to go to his place. You chose to turn off your phone. You chose to not set an alarm. You chose to stay in bed with him instead of coming back. Every single one of those was a choice. And every single one of them meant I was standing alone in the rain, watching my future disappear. I couldn't argue. He was right about all of it. I loved you, he said, and the past tense destroyed me. I trusted you with everything. I told you things I've never told anyone. I let you see me at my worst. And you used that knowledge to hurt me in the most devastating way possible. I didn't use it. You knew exactly how much I was struggling. You knew the exam was my breaking point. And you still chose not to be there. That's not an accident, Sarah. That's a choice. He left. The door closed quietly behind him, and somehow that was worse than if he'd slammed it. No dramatic exit, just the absence of someone who'd been the center of my life for 2 years. I sat in the apartment. My apartment? The place we'd lived together? The place he'd sprawled on the couch reading history books and making me laugh. And felt nothing. Numbness. Static. I told myself I'd fix it. I'd explain. He'd understand eventually. But I knew the truth. There was nothing to fix. I'd broken something that couldn't be repaired. The exam results came 3 weeks later. Official letter from the department. We regret to inform you that you have not passed the comprehensive examination. Your performance did not meet the standards required for continuation in the doctoral program. You are hereby dismissed from the PhD program in history, effective immediately. Ben showed me the letter. We'd seen each other a few times in those 3 weeks. Awkward encounters in the department, conversations that went nowhere. He was staying with Marcus. I was staying in the apartment, alone. I'm sorry, I said, and I meant it. Seeing the words in official letterhead made it real in a way nothing else had. Todd graded my essays, Ben said flatly. Hamilton sent them through blind like always. But I found out from Katie. She saw the grading assignments. Todd read my work and marked it insufficient. My stomach dropped. Ben, he didn't know. Does it matter? Whether he knew it was me or not? He was fucking my girlfriend while evaluating whether I deserved to stay in the program. Can you imagine how that looks? The conflict of interest? I hadn't thought about it like that. Somehow, I'd compartmentalized it. Todd was part of one thing, Ben was part of another, but they weren't separate. They'd never been separate. I filed a complaint, Ben said, about the conflict of interest. Hamilton is reviewing it. What does that mean? Probably nothing. The grading was blind. I really did fail. I couldn't think straight during the exam. But at least there's a record. At least people will know. Know what? That you and Todd were involved while he had evaluation authority over your cohort. That's an ethics violation, even if it didn't affect the grading. Fear spiked through me. Will they investigate? Ben looked at me with something like pity. You're worried about yourself right now? I just lost my entire career, and you're worried about an ethics investigation? He was right. Again. Always right. And I was always wrong. And I hated him for it, even as I knew I deserved everything he was saying. I'm moving home, Ben said. Back to Wisconsin. My parents are letting me stay with them while I figure out what's next. What are you going to do? I don't know. Not history. Can't do that without a PhD. Maybe teaching. Maybe something completely different. He laughed bitterly. Maybe I'll prove Todd right. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. You were, I said. You are. You're brilliant, Ben. The smartest person in our cohort. This wasn't about your ability. It was about my anxiety. he interrupted. And my inability to function when the person I depended on most wasn't there. So maybe that is a weakness. Maybe that does mean I wasn't ready. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Sarah, but it's reality. The ethics investigation happened. Professor Hamilton called me into his office in December, 2 weeks before winter break. I need you to tell me about your relationship with Todd Chen, he said without preamble. I considered lying, but Ben had already filed the complaint. Other people had probably seen us together. Lying would only make it worse. We've been involved since September, I admitted. Hamilton's expression didn't change. While he was serving as TA for my seminar? While he had grading responsibilities for your cohort? Yes. That's a clear violation of department policy. TAs are not permitted to have romantic or sexual relationships with students they have evaluation authority over. The grading was blind, I said. That's irrelevant. The policy exists to prevent even the appearance of impropriety. Whether Todd knew whose work he was grading or not, the relationship creates a conflict of interest. What does that mean? For me? Hamilton looked tired. For you, nothing. You're not the one in a position of authority. But Todd will be removed from his TA position effective immediately. He'll likely face additional consequences from the graduate school. What about me? I asked. My exams, my grades, will stand. There's no evidence Todd showed you favoritism. And even if he had, your work has been adequate but not exceptional. This doesn't appear to be a case of grade manipulation. Adequate but not exceptional. The words stung, even then. What about Ben? I made myself ask. His complaint. Ben Morrison's exam failure stands as well. I've reviewed his test with Dr. Mitchell and 2 other faculty members. He didn't meet the standard for passing. His performance was severely compromised by anxiety, but we can't make exceptions for that. The exam is designed to be high pressure. So nothing changes? Everything changed, Hamilton said sharply. A promising student is gone from the program. My TA has committed an ethics violation, and the department has been distracted by an investigation instead of focusing on scholarship. All because 2 people couldn't maintain appropriate professional boundaries. He dismissed me. I left his office feeling like I'd been hollowed out. Todd texted me that night. Thanks a lot, just lost my funding. I didn't respond. We never spoke again. Ben left for Wisconsin 2 days before Christmas. I saw him one last time, helping Marcus load boxes into a U-Haul in the parking lot of Marcus's building. Ben, I called. He turned. He looked thinner, tired. I just wanted to say, don't, he interrupted. There's nothing left to say. I'm sorry, I really am. I never wanted this to happen. Yes, you did. He said it calmly, matter-of-factly. Maybe not consciously. Maybe you told yourself you were just having fun, just needed attention, just whatever story made it okay. But part of you wanted me to fail. Part of you wanted me gone so you could stop feeling like you were in my shadow. That's not true, isn't it? We both know I was doing better in the program. We both know Hamilton was paying more attention to my work. And we both know you started sleeping with his TA right when that became undeniable. I wanted to protest, but he was right. That dark part of me that had enjoyed having a secret Ben didn't know about, that had thrilled at the idea of him failing. I couldn't deny it existed. I hope it was worth it, Ben said. Whatever you got from Todd, whatever validation or excitement or distraction, I hope it was worth destroying what we had. It wasn't, I whispered. Yeah, I know. He turned back to the U-Haul. Goodbye, Sarah. I stood in the parking lot watching him leave. Watching 2 years of my life drive away in a rental truck. I told myself I'd move on. I told myself this was just a breakup. Painful but survivable. People recovered from worse. But I knew the truth. I'd destroyed something irreplaceable. Not just the relationship, but Ben's trust in other people. His belief that the world was safe. His career, his dreams. All because I couldn't handle being second place. Spring semester was miserable. I stayed in the program. I'd passed my comps in December, scoring adequate marks across the board. Without Ben, without Todd, I was just another middle-tier PhD student grinding through seminars and trying to figure out a dissertation topic. Todd withdrew from the program in January, transferred to a different university to finish his PhD. We never spoke, but I heard through the gossip network that he'd started dating someone new almost immediately. Some undergraduate at his new school. Apparently he hadn't learned anything. I should have felt relieved he was gone. Instead, I just felt empty. The affair that had felt so exciting, so validating, so important, it had been nothing. A selfish distraction that cost everything and gave nothing. Professor Hamilton never treated me the same way. Not hostile, just distant, professional. I'd gone from promising student to cautionary tale. My name would be whispered to future cohorts. That's Sarah Chen. She was involved with a TA, caused a whole investigation. Her boyfriend failed out because of it. I stopped going to department social events. Stopped trying to network with faculty. Just put my head down and worked. But the work felt hollow now. History, the subject I'd loved, the field I'd devoted years to, felt like penance instead of passion. I was only here because I'd passed my exam, because I'd survived while Ben hadn't. Survivor's guilt, maybe, or just guilt. I found out about Ben through social media. I'd blocked him on everything after he left, trying to give him space. But mutual friends posted things, tagged photos. 6 months after he left, Marcus posted a photo, Ben at some coding boot camp in Milwaukee. The caption, "My boy's learning Python. Data science arc begins." I stared at the photo for a long time. Ben looked different, healthier maybe, less anxious. He was smiling, not the forced smile from our PhD days, but something genuine. A year later, Katie posted, "Dinner with Ben. So proud of him landing that data analyst position. Ben in business casual, at some trendy restaurant, looking confident in a way I'd never seen during our relationship." 18 months later, Marcus's Instagram story, Ben's new place in Madison. Some sleek modern apartment, completely unlike the cramped graduate housing we'd shared. 2 years later, engagement photos. Ben and a woman I didn't recognize. Pretty, blonde, smiling like she couldn't believe her luck. The caption from her account, "He said yes, marrying my best friend." I closed Instagram and didn't open it again for a month. I saw them 5 years later. I was in Madison for a conference, Midwestern History Association, poorly attended, desperate for participants. I'd just presented my dissertation chapter to a room of 12 people, half of whom were on their phones. I was walking to my hotel when I saw them. Ben and the blonde woman, his wife now, presumably. They were coming out of a restaurant laughing about something. Ben wore a tailored suit, not expensive but well-fitted. He looked successful, happy, settled. The woman saw me first. She didn't recognize me, but Ben followed her gaze and our eyes met. For a second, everything stopped. 5 years collapsed. I was back in our apartment watching him leave. I was back at Todd's place seeing my phone light up with his calls. I was back on the curb where I'd left him standing in the rain. Then Ben smiled. Not warm, not friendly, just polite. The smile you give a stranger. "Sarah," he said, "Hi." "Hi." My voice sounded strange. "You look good, both of you." "Thanks, this is my wife Amy." "Amy, this is Sarah. We were in grad school together." "We're in grad school together." That's how he described us. Not my ex-girlfriend. Not the person who destroyed my career. Just a factual statement about shared history. "Nice to meet you," Amy said, and she seemed genuinely friendly. "Did you go to UMICH too?" "Yeah. History PhD program." "Oh, that's what Ben was doing. Small world." "Very small." "We should get going," Ben said gently to Amy. Then to me, "Good to see you. Take care." They walked away. I watched them go. Watched Ben's hand rest on Amy's lower back. Watched them lean into each other. Watched them disappear into their happy life. I stood on the Madison sidewalk and tried to remember what I'd been thinking that night. I went to Todd's apartment. What could possibly have been worth this? Nothing. The answer was nothing. I'm 31 now, still in the PhD program, though I'm taking an extra year because my dissertation research has been slow. Professor Hamilton retired last year, and my new advisor is polite but unenthusiastic about my work. I'll probably finish, probably graduate, maybe get a teaching position at some small college somewhere if I'm lucky. The job market is terrible, everyone says so. Todd finished his PhD and got a tenure-track position at a state school in Indiana. I saw his faculty profile once. He looks exactly the same, still has that smug expression, still married to some woman he met during his last year of grad school. They have a baby now. From her social media, they seem miserable. Constant passive-aggressive posts about division of labor and whose turn it is to wake up with the kid. Ben doesn't teach history. He doesn't need to. From what I can piece together from LinkedIn and mutual friends, he's working as a data scientist for some tech company. Makes 3 times what I'll make as a professor, if I even get that job. He published a post once about finding unexpected joy in a career pivot that got a lot of engagement. He's happy. He has a career he enjoys, a wife he loves. A life that moved on completely from the wreckage I created. And I'm here, still in academia, the place I stayed while he was forced to leave, living proof that sometimes the person who makes the selfish choice gets to keep going, while the person they betrayed has to rebuild from nothing. Except Ben rebuilt into something better, and I just kept circling the same drain, going through motions in a career that feels more like punishment than achievement. I think about that morning sometimes. November 5th, 5 years ago, the rain hammering Todd's windows, my phone lighting up on the floor. The choice I made, or didn't make, depending on how you count an action. If I'd set the alarm, if I'd charged my phone, if I'd gone home the night before, if I'd been honest with Ben months earlier, if I'd ended things with Todd before they started, if, but I didn't. I made the choices I made, and Ben paid the price. People ask me sometimes why I'm still single, why I don't date. I make excuses about being too busy with the dissertation, about the time commitment of academic work. But the truth is simpler. I don't trust myself. If I could do what I did to Ben, someone I loved, someone who needed me, what am I capable of with someone I care about less? I destroyed a good person on the most important day of his life, not through some dramatic act of betrayal, but through the quiet selfishness of choosing my own comfort over his needs. I turned off my phone and rolled over and stayed in bed with someone who didn't matter, while the person who did matter stood alone in the rain, watching his future disappear. That's who I am. I've tried to make peace with it, tried to tell myself I was young, I was confused, I was dealing with my own insecurities about academic success. All true. None of it matters. What matters is that when someone trusted me completely, I proved I wasn't worthy of that trust. When someone needed me most, I chose not to be there. When I had the chance to be a good person, I chose to be this person instead. Ben moved on, built a better life, found someone who doesn't abandon him when things get hard. I stayed exactly where I was, in the world I chose over him, learning slowly that winning the competition wasn't worth what I destroyed to stay in it. He deserved better. I knew it then, in Todd's apartment, watching my phone light up with his calls. I know it now, sitting in my office at 31, writing a dissertation no one will read, preparing for a career I'm not sure I even want. I chose wrong. I have to live with that knowledge forever. And unlike Ben, I don't get to start over. I just get to stay here, in the aftermath of my choices, in the life I picked when I picked myself over everything else. That's the punishment. Not that something bad happened to me, but that I have to be me, the person who did this, who is capable of this. I have to live with that now,